Hello and welcome to Steven University. This week we are discussing Lion 3, straight to video, an episode in which Steven is seemingly being sort of hug-attacked by Lion consistently, and it's giving him weird dreams until he discovers that that's not what's happening at all. In fact, when he goes into Lion's mane, it's a weird pocket dimension where he can't breathe, and Rose seems to have left a bunch of her stuff there, including a tape addressed to Steven. He goes back and watches that with Sadie. It's a very emotional moment. I'm sure Chris will agree. But let's get your thoughts, Chris, because to very quickly recap my thoughts, and I will say very little more than this. It is basically a perfect episode of television, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think that it's weird that safety deposit boxes / storage units don't exist in Steven Universe. you gotta chuck your shit in a lion's mane. But you know, no, it's I've had a very long. It's such a shame that I'm feeling rough and had a long day to review such a beautiful episode. But I will try and have it reflect, because I almost felt like I was I was watching it and I'm like so sniffly. I was like, if someone comes in and sees me watching this, they're going to assume I'm crying, because it's powerful shit, and I wouldn't begrudge or not understand anyone that did get tearful. I think it does. I think the episode's true genius is the fact that there is no reason for it to have a little side plot involving Sadie and lunches from her mum, but it does, and it even makes that wrapped into everything and makes that beautiful. That for me highlights what's so special about this episode. It would have worked without that Sadie plot, which for those that don't remember is it's reference that her mum makes her lunch, and in the beginning she's a bit fed up of it, and then when she watches with Steven the tape of his mum, it makes her sort of regret that and ring her up and tell her that she doesn't need to stop. And it's just this really sweet, lovely thing, and the fact that it is in there is just a testament to the episode for me, and highlights why it's such a lovely piece of television, as you've said. I think that the stuff with there's humour, Steven popping up and down out of the mane. There's sort of this weird protective stuff. Slightly odd that Pearl watches him sleep. That's a weird little tangent.
I told you, occasionally anti-crazy Pearl comes to stay.
Yeah. But it is full of these huge momentous moments. Obviously we see Rose, we get some of their relationship on tape and stuff, and yeah, really, really loved it. Really, really powerful episode.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly one of my personal favorites from the early sort of era of the show, because it is just extraordinarily powerful stuff. I mean, that tape is so beautiful, and also to go back to something we talked about in one of the earlier Lion episodes, in fact probably the last Lion episode, Lion 2, whatever that was called, the movie. The Lion reacts very specifically to what Steven says. You'll notice that the first time Lion acts weird in this episode is after he's talking about his mum and says, I just wish I knew a little more about her.
Yeah.
And then that's when the Lion immediately starts trying to press his mane up to Steven. And Steven thinks he's hugging him, but that's another part of the genius of this episode, is you don't for ages realise that Lion has intent. He's not just being weird. He's very, very specifically trying to get Steven to go into his mane, and it's working in Steven's sleep, but Steven keeps presuming it's a dream, which is actually really clever, though, because of course you would, if you just sort of opened your eyes and you could see that, that sort of bizarre.
Although again, you'd think it'd be used to weird shit, but yeah, you are right.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so maybe he should have been more questioning of it. And you're right about the humor as well, because obviously that whole "blink if this means that you love me" stuff was very funny. I will forever remember Sadie and Steven watching the tape. It comes to an end. They're both teary-eyed. It's really beautiful. And then Lars just walks in like, what's going on in here? It's great.
And backs out slowly.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that friendship that they have. I think more than them watching the tape and getting tearful together was just the little hints that maybe off screen they developed a real genuine friendship. So, for example, him whispering enough that makes her go, oh, okay, and they rush in, sort of implying that he sort of can say it's a tape of my mum, and she knows how important that is.
Mm-hmm.
When she's the one that says, oh, Stephen, that voice, it just the implication of their friendship is just so strong, and it's so nice because it's so differently played to Connie and Stephen and to Lars and Sadie, and it's just such a clear friendship.
And it doesn't need to be. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It doesn't need to be played like in a more overt way. There's enough there for you to know it exists, and it's such a great way to just cut to the chase of these two people are friends. You don't need to have an episode explaining that. They just are. Maybe they've been for a long time. You don't know, for it to be precise, but they they clearly are quite close. And so that's, I mean, it's so much to unpack. Let's talk about the video. I mean, obviously the video starts with Greg quite, playfully giving a message to his son. At first he's like, it doesn't feel right, and he's got stage fright or whatever he calls it, and then he like does it as Mr. Universe, and suddenly he's all confidence and bravado, and it's quite funny, and it's kind of adorable. Like there's a seagull sleeping on his belly or whatever. It's all very, very playful, and it really gives you a sense of what Rose and Greg's relationship was like, even if it is just a very, very brief sort of tantalizing hint that how those two would have interacted. It is really incredible. And I think as soon as you hear her voice, you know it's her. And then
definitely.
The power of when the camera turns round and you see her and she's talking. Like, I forgot, because as I'm sure you can guess, Chris, there's more from Rose going forward in the show. That's not the last we'll ever see or hear from that character in some form or another, and I think I forgot how impactful seeing her for the first time in a way that isn't just like a picture or a statue, and it's video and she's talking and her voice is coming out of her. Like that's the most tangibly connected we as the audience have been to that character since it started. So you can only imagine how that must feel for Stephen, and I think that's
it's very powerful.
And again, they hold it off for just long enough, because at a certain point I'm putting thoughts maybe in your head. I don't remember how I felt exactly about this watching it the first time, but I suspect if you're watching this the first time, you could be halfway through it going, is she never going to turn the camera around? Are we just going to keep seeing Greg and hearing her voice, which is still wonderful, but and
a testament to their love and like how she feels about him. It's a very clever, not only from a suspense point of view, but it's a very clever technique to showcase that relationship.
Agreed. Yeah, 100%. But you could imagine becoming frustrated at the notion you might not get to see her at all. So then when the camera does flip round, it's a weirdly big moment.
Yeah, definitely.
So I want to unpack a little bit of what her speech is, because it's really it's beautifully written. Because it's interesting. Well, let's unpack. Let's start. I'm going to quickly read through it. It's not as long as it seems on the screen, because I'm going to deliver it horribly. So, but it starts with, "Isn't it remarkable, Stephen? This world is full of so many possibilities. Each living thing has an entirely unique experience. The sights they see, the sounds they hear." I mean, that goes to show you how different whatever we have on Earth is to whatever Gem Homeworld is. Like, as a new viewer at this stage, even that is a tantalizing hint to how different Gem life must be out in the world.
Yeah.
The lives they live are so complicated and so simple. I can't wait for you to join them, referring to humans, I guess. She turns the camera around at that point. "Stephen, we can't both exist." Now, there's the other thing actually I want to unpack here. "Stephen, we can't both exist," as she turns the camera around. I got the impression, watching this originally, and it was stronger even the second time round, and I can't, I'm not gonna give away whether I know that if this is true or not at this stage. But from this, do you assume Greg knows that she's going away?
Yeah, that's my assumption. Yeah, without a doubt.
Okay.
I think it's all. I think that sort of comes across in the way he talks. He's talked about her in previous episodes. I think it's. I want them to unpack that more and see more of that from a logistical point of view and an emotional point of view. I want to know what exactly it means that she will go into him, which I know is later in the speech, but related to this, and just what that did emotionally for for them to, like, as characters and as people, and coming to that decision, how he reacted, how the rest of the gems reacted, all of it.
Mm. Yeah, it's just that because he's so sort of happy in this video, you wouldn't think he was a man who was about to gain a son but lose a wife.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm saying, do you think that at the point of at this point in the video, do you think in that point in time, do you think he knew that he was losing Rose?
I kind of think he does, but I don't know. Yeah,
because that's what.
But you're right. He's a bit happy about it.
Yeah, so you got to wonder if she kept that from him maybe until later in the game.
Yeah.
There's just a weird hint of that there in that he is not. She turns the camera round away from Greg when she has that part of the conversation with Stephen. I thought that was interesting. Well, she literally uses the words, so to carry on very quickly the rest of the quote, Stephen, we can't both exist. I'm going to become half of you. I need you to know that every moment you love being yourself, that's me, loving you and loving being you, which is a really beautiful thought. That's very nice. Because you're going to be something extraordinary. You're going to be a human being. Take care of them, Stephen. And then the video ends. Now, who's the them, in your opinion?
The humans is what I read from that.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be a human, so take care of the humans.
Yeah.
That's how I interpreted that.
Yeah, that's how I saw it too. I was just curious if you'd pick it up that way as well, because I think a lot of people could think of it just being the gems, or just the family unit, like Greg and sort of like the the people closest to them. But no, I think that's the line before it is literally, you're going to be a human being, take care of them, Stephen.
Yeah. And we do also get a nice little kiss between the two of them.
Yes.
A nice little happy moment as well.
Yeah, so that's right. They lean in, they stand together, and we see her with her sort of pregnant belly, and then the kiss happens. And then obviously we go into the
logistics of it all fascinates me, because obviously if the gems produce a physical form, but they're really the gems, the logistics of how she even got pregnant is and I don't mean that in a pervy way, I don't know. I think that's an issue they need to address, but I don't know how you address that in a kids' TV show.
Yeah, I mean, you got to assume that my assumption of how it worked at this stage was that she got pregnant the normal way, in terms of actually getting pregnant. But then when it came to giving birth, the gem, basically her form went into the gem as if she'd been poofed, killed, and then when it repoofed, it was Stephen, but as a baby, I'm guessing.
I don't know,
because we've seen that. We saw what happened when Pearl got poofed. She retreated inside the gem, and then after a while she came back out, but with a different look. My assumption at this point was that one of the reasons we'd been shown that was that it was to try and fill in that gap. Obviously, this is me being very cautious not to lead you down any paths as to trying to read into what I'm saying. I'm being deliberately vague and specific that this is what I roughly would have guessed around the time of this episode, without giving away what actually has or hasn't happened.
That's fair.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's not more I can't push you on it because you won't answer.
No, you're absolutely right. I won't. But I mean, what do you think there's more? There could be more to it. Do you think there needs to be more to it than that, or do you think is that not simple enough to work for you? Just
no, I think it's such a big thing that I would quite like to know more about not necessarily the logistics of her getting pregnant, but why Stephen therefore is half human. Why just all the kind of magic involved in it. Why can't they both coexist? I think it's reasonable to sort of have those questions.
Well, I think the why they both can't exist is that a gem can't pass on genetic material the way a human can, because it doesn't have that as such. So the gem has to literally become that half of the person it's creating.
That makes sense.
That's how I've always said that part. I can tell you now they haven't elaborated on any further that element of it, but to me that's because that seems
But I just think if it was an adult show, you'd expect those kind of more logistical details to be shared.
Sure, I get it, Chris.
Which
You
is
just
what,
want you just want the bound chicka wow wow of it all. That's fine, Chris. That's
No,
okay.
no, I don't. I just think
there's plenty of fan fiction out there for you to get your teeth into if you really want to know the gory.
No, I just think. No, I just think. I think I'm right with that. I think that's a fair statement to say. I think it's such a dealing with someone being pregnant and how they're being born and stuff like that is such a unique avenue to go down in a children's show. I don't think I've really seen it before because it raises those kind of, in my opinion, reasonable questions.
No, that's fair. I'm only winding you, but yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think that like I'm more interested in personally for me at this stage. I'm more interested in the dramatic potential of it, which is like
same. Like I said,
one of the most joyous things that could happen to a person, particularly someone like Greg, is to have a kid. You can tell how excited he is just in this video, but the cost of that, in this case, is losing the woman he loves, and that is so very dramatic and is ripe with storytelling potential.
It's like what I said earlier holds. I want to know the logistics and the emotional. I name checked both, and I think if I was forced to choose, I'd choose the emotional side because what that decision meant for Greg and the gems is definitely the more interesting story, and the story I think that they have teased in other episodes, but especially this episode.
I see. Yeah, that's fair. That is fair.
Didn't Stephen produce? Sorry, you done with the speech?
No, go. Yeah, the speech is done. Yeah, go on, Karen. Didn't Stephen produce?
Am I right in saying Stephen produced the sword in an earlier episode
from Lion's Head?
Yeah. So that's awesome. I liked that because I was like, oh, that's how he was able to produce a sword from his head. Then it's just in this sort of
pocket for universe thing, whatever
universe.
It is.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think
cool.
I think it's mostly just referred to as the pocket dimension. But yeah,
right, okay.
Because that's how it feels. It's like it doesn't seem to have a great deal of scope, but it is huge to be inside of the mane of a lion.
Do you ever see Rose and Lion together in a flashback or such?
I don't know if that's something I want to give away or not.
Well, that's something I want to ask. So choose.
I'm gonna say no comment at this stage.
Okay.
Because I think that gives away. There's a lot you could gather from that answer. I feel interesting that you pointed out as well the idea that she was filming Greg because she was so enamored with him. That's exactly the case. I'm reading on the wiki page here. It was also revealed that blah blah blah. There was a conversation with the creators. Originally, it was pitched that Greg would be filming Rose. However, Joe Johnston and Jeff Liu pitched the idea of it being reversed because she was so fascinated with him and so in love with him. There you go. Yeah, and Rebecca Sugar even stated how it was a beautiful thought that she was still dizzy about him, which is nice.
Yeah, no, I thought that was nice. Yeah, I picked that up. I thought it was good.
Yeah, it's very good. Let's have a look. Anything else I want to bring up? Oh, obviously Dog Copter shows back up from a continuity perspective.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Like in the dream, he's playing a weird mix of checkers and chess. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, in the dream. Yeah, that was very strange. Let's have a look. Obviously, Lion Licker's returned. Much to Stephen's dismay.
Mm-hmm.
He hates the Lion Licker. Let's have a look. Oh, there was a bubble. You may not have noticed this. In that sort of pocket dimension, whatever you want to call it, there was a bubble with an object in it. One of Rose's bubbles.
That's some sort of weird triangle thing in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was. I recognised the T because isn't a T-shirt from the video.
Yeah, the Mr. Universe
so,
T-shirt.
I picked that up and the sword, but yeah, I didn't know what was in the bubble.
Yeah, and then of course there was a flag all burnt up. Then there was a bubble with an item that could not be quite identified.
But how is the next episode not him going back in the fur to see what else he could discover? Because isn't that the natural instinct?
That is actually a really good point. I can tell you now it isn't, but you're absolutely right.
Wouldn't you just immediately be like, right?
Oh, man. You literally just broke my brain.
The only fansplaining explanation you could give is that he doesn't want to, he wants the joy of experiencing that all slowly. He wants to really take it in.
Sure.
Stephen's got the same approach that the dude from 13 Reasons Why had with listening to the tapes.
Yeah.
He's just taking his time. It's just gradual. It's just letting him enjoy it bit by bit.
Yeah. The only thing this episode really didn't have is action, but it didn't need it. It was just was
not at all.
genuinely as close to perfect as an episode of this show has gotten, in my opinion.
And really surprising because like I just expected it to just be some sort of generic lion storyline. So when all that happened, I was like, shit.
Yeah, and it does. It literally comes out of nowhere. Because the thing is, the episode starts with like that. You know, lions sort of like bumming about, causing trouble. You just think, oh look, he's like a cat. You know, and it's kind of adorable in a weird way. You know what I mean? Like it's, yeah. Definitely. Oh, I'll tell you what else was there actually. So there was a burnt, sort of a burnt or torn flag with the rose symbol on it, which we've seen before. The Mr. Universe T-shirt, the sword, and a bubble with a triangle in it, and also the chest. The chest is the thing we missed, I think.
Okay.
Oh, and a photo. Cool. A photo of the Rose and Greg together. Yeah, I just want to list all the items that we could visibly see onto that tree. Cool. So is that everything? I'm assuming we're giving that a thumbs up because
really loved it. Really enjoyed it.
Good. Excellent. Well, that was a slightly more straightforward episode of Steven University, but I think there was a lot to unpack. So I think we both sort of went like, no silly tangents this week. Let's not go on a 5-minute tangent about the perils of looking at fan fiction online and where that can lead.
I did. You told me to have a look. I didn't because that would be grim. So.
Oh yeah. No. I said that as a joke. Definitely don't. There's some monstrous stuff out there. I mean, to be fair, thankfully again, fingers crossed it stays this way. Generally speaking, I have never come across anything too bad with the Steven Universe. I named the worst thing I had to come across last week in the fandom. As a rule, you guys are pretty awesome. Yeah. So yeah, cool. I will leave that there for this week then. Or for this episode. We'll see you in a couple of days' time, no doubt, to discuss another one. So that's everything for this week. I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billingham.
And we'll see you next time as we discuss Warp Tour.